What's up, Leafs fans, and welcome to Leafs Digest. Now, less important thing to break down considering what's going on in the season right now, but it's actually something that will be more important coming up as we start to approach the deadline for the roster announcements for the Team Canada Olympics. And if you are on social media today, you would have seen that the new uniforms for Team Canada's Olympics and Olympic roster in 2022 were released. I'm not so sure how I feel about them. Actually, before we even get into this roster, the lineup, which Leafs could make make the Olympics this year, Goody. First things first, what do you think about the new uniforms for Team Canada?
I haven't seen them yet, so stick with me for 1 second. I'm going to give you the live reaction. So I'm going to open up TSN. I know TSN dropped them. So you're saying it's the logo that throws you off about these?
Yeah, I don't know how I feel about the logo about these. And honestly, like, they changed them up when they went to the World Cup of Hockey. But to me, that kind of made sense because the World Cup of Hockey wasn't a normal Hockey Canada international kind of event. So changing it up didn't seem that out of the ordinary. But when they changed it up for the Olympics, to me, it was just, I just wanted to see vintage Canada jerseys. I wanted to see the jerseys Iginla and Getzlaf when Crosby wore at the 2010 Olympics. I wanted to see the World Juniors jersey with the hockey, like the guy skating through the maple leaf and stuff. That was what I was looking for. And it just doesn't feel like that. It's not the same vibe from these new uniforms.
You're right. You're right. I got it right here. It's definitely a different vibe. I gotta say, I kind of like it though. It sort of suits the general aesthetic of hockey jerseys now. You know, like I think when they went with Adidas. Yeah, when they went with Adidas for the NHL jerseys after being with Reebok for so long, you kind of sense a little bit of a different tone coming in. For example, the Dallas jerseys, the blacked out ones with the neon green. Like stuff like that flies now. So
have you seen any of the photos? There's these up close photos of the jerseys when the guys are in the tunnel, and it legit looks like an NHL video game. Yeah, it looks like an NHL video game cutscene.
It's just EA Sports going on. Like it's wild, actually. I know the photo you're talking about. It does look exactly like a video game. But for these jerseys, I gotta say, I don't mind them. They kind of seem to fit like I said, the general aesthetic of hockey jerseys at the moment. Yeah. And I mean, Canada's got such cool colors to work with, like the black, red, and white. I just feel blacked out jerseys are so tough, and I'm looking at it right now. I like it personally.
I like the blacked out too, but you know what is actually really missing from them, in my opinion, is the gold trim.
Yes, I was thinking about that actually.
If they threw in some gold trim, I probably wouldn't have been such a, I don't know, hater's not the right word, because I don't hate them. I just don't like them as much as I've liked Canada jerseys in the past. And maybe it's just the nostalgia. Maybe in the moment I was never really in love with the Canada jerseys. But right now, these ones that I'm seeing, it's just, they're just okay. They're okay, just okay, really.
I think if they do something special in these jerseys, though, you'll definitely look back at them and be like, oh, they look sweet.
Yeah, fair enough. And you know what'll be different too, a different feeling, is when you actually get to see the star players wearing these jerseys. And then it's a different association than just like a mock-up that you see on Twitter.
Yeah, no, 100%. And I gotta apologize. I'm gonna clear my throat every second here. I'm a little bit sick at the moment, but yeah, no, I think the jerseys look pretty clean. And once the players actually get on the ice with them and you get to see some highlights come in, that's when they're gonna look really, really clean.
All right, well, let's discuss which players could potentially be wearing them. As things start to wind down here and we get closer and closer to the time that they're going to actually have to announce the final selections for the rosters for Team Canada, it's getting kind of interesting. I pulled up some different projections from a more recent one from Bleacher Report, one from Chris Johnson dating back to September, and one from Mike Johnson dating back to July 28th. And the reason I kind of pulled these different dates was to see the progression of players, how things have changed over time. And to me, it's kind of interesting that between the three of them, and I would say at least two of them are very well reputable sources in Chris Johnson with TSN now and Mike Johnson also from TSN. But then Bleacher Report's own that they've put out it's not a joke by any means. It's not a mockery. It's pretty good, but it's just not as reputable as the other two guys, having been NHL reporters in Canada for a long time. But the differences between them aren't that much different. And I think the most important part that you and I wanted to break down is, will Mitch Marner be playing on the Team Canada roster come 2022? All three of these projections have Mitch Marner in their roster. All three of them do. Is Mitch Marner someone that to you is a lock for Team Canada in come 2022?
I wouldn't say a lock, but you're getting pretty close to a lock. I think he'll make the team. I have genohard.com as my as the reference source I'm using. Yes, it's my reputable source, if you want to call it that. That's what I'm looking at right now for anyone wondering what visual I got in front of me. They have Mitch Marner making the team as well. And I think that's truthfully what will end up happening. I mean, when we talk about Mitch Marner, we always take it in relativity to his pay, because that's on the topic of the Leafs. You know, that's the Leafs owe him that contract. So
there ain't no cap hit for Team Canada.
Exactly. And the ice is a whole lot bigger. So I think Mitch Marner's skills get a whole lot more noticeable. You can use it as patience a bit more. I mean, it's already such a great part of his game. It'll really shine on the big ice. And I got to say, I mean, with playing with other talent, I mean, Mitch Marner is a setup, man. He's going to be racking up the points as he does in the NHL. I mean, all the criticism he gets tends to fall back to the fact that he gets paid 10.9 or whatever it is. And that comes with crazy expectations. But Mitch Marner, there's no cap hit at the Olympics, as we were just saying. And that big ice, I think, will bring out the best in his skills. So I'm definitely on the bandwagon for it.
I think how this next month goes for him is going to be a very big determining factor in his ability to play on this team. And the biggest problem for me comes where I think prior to the season beginning, I would have been much higher on the Mitch Marner for Team Canada train than I am right now. Through 20 games played through this season, Mitch Marner has 17 points. And by no means is that not good, 17 points in 20 games. But for a guy who's supposed to be a superstar and is going to try to be cracking what is essentially an all-star lineup, that's what it is. There's no way around. That's what Team Canada is. That's the type of roster they field every single year they go to the Olympics. It's an all-star roster of guys who are legitimate superstars in this league, and they bring incredible talents in terms of whatever they do. And I want to pinpoint here, when you look at what the type of roster construction that we've seen from all three of these lists that I have in front of me right now, a guy like Sean Couturier. Sean Couturier isn't a guy who blows you away with stats, but he can still put up points. But the most important part of his game is his defensive ability. Now, another guy who Sean Couturier actually is quite often referred to as following in his footsteps, or someone who is the next coming of this type of player, would be Patrice Bergeron. And to me, that's the best example of a guy who doesn't have to put up an incredible amount of points, but brings something on the other side of the game. Now, when you look through the roster, there's obviously guys who bring lots of points here. McKinnon, McDavid, these are guys who are on every single person's list. Even Braden Point, like these guys put up lots of points. Now, Mitch Marner would be a guy who would be expected to put up a lot of points. And now the problem where I find with him is that if he's not putting up a lot of points, what is he bringing to this team? Like, where is that value coming if he's not putting up points? And if he's struggling in the NHL, and I know it's a different game and he's playing with different guys, but where is that value? What is he doing?
You're right. If we were basing it off of just this season, he probably wouldn't make the team. But this is a body of work thing. And we got to realize that the past 6 months has been weird for Mitch Marner. And we're seeing glimpses of him snapping out of it. I mean, right now, he does look like the old Mitch. Is that enough to sway Team Canada into giving him a roster spot right now? I still think so. I honestly still do. Because when you look at the body of work, you're right. He doesn't bring you a ton when he's not getting points. But, I mean, even now, in the worst stretch he's ever had in the NHL, he's almost point per game. Like, this is not an actual, big time concern for Mitch. He's going to go out there with these players and he's going to be getting assists. And if he's not, then I mean, he's not a complete liability to be out there. Does he still help you in other ways defensively? And not really. Is he going to win draws? No, he's a winger. There's not really that many things about Mitch other than the points that will do it. But I just still think the point getting will be there. And it showed. I mean, look at the totals he's put up recently beyond this year, right? It's a body of work evaluation.
This is one reason, and I know I'm a little bit flip-floppy here right now, but it's one of the... So The projections have the three that I have different line combinations. They have different actual physical constructions of the lines, but for the most part, it's the same consistent players. There's one projection in particular that makes me think that this is more likely of a opportunity for him to make this team than the others, and it's Chris Johnson's projection that has McKinnon, McDavid, and Marner playing on a line together. That right there stands out to me solely as a line that would just be Harlem Globetrotter-esque every single time they go on the ice. Because
that's a good
McKinnon and McDavid are... McKinnon specifically is a guy who can be a puck retriever. McDavid as well is very good at going getting the puck for himself. But if you have McKinnon on your line, McKinnon can be looked more as the workhorse than McDavid in that situation, just because of sheer strength, physicality, whatever, his natural game. McKinnon has a little bit more of that in him than McDavid does. So you look at that line, okay, there's your puck getter. Now, McDavid is just, I mean, there's no words for what Connor McDavid is, right? Like, it's just, we know. There's no way to encapsulate into words what McDavid does on the ice, who he is as a player, the type of contributions he's going to have. And now the other side of this is you look at Mitch Marner. He's not really going to have to do much work, nor is he going to have to play much defense on a line like this. He's not going to be relied upon to be a checker or to be shutting things down, because this line, I'm going to tell you right now, how often do you think they're playing in their own side of center? Because I'm going to say it's going to be very, very, very minimal. Because just McKinnon and McDavid, both centermen, they can both take draws. They can both win them at high percentages. They're both much more defensively responsible at this point in their careers than they used to be. And they're so damn good at hockey that it's just like there's no way they're going to be spending much time in their zone, which would just lead me to believe that Marner would be excelling on that line.
Yeah, well, and there's that old expression, was the best defense is a good offense. You keep the ball, the puck, whatever it is, then it's not in your own end threatening to be scored on you. And that's what's going to happen with that line, because that just screams puck possession. Like, I love what you said about that being a Harlem Globetrotters-esque on ice there, because those guys, the amount of highlights they have and just how sensational the plays they make are, I think it'll be crazy. And especially someone like Mitch, who, yes, struggles with physicality. You're playing on big ice. Like, I know it's a very small detail and kind of a cliche to bring up, but Mitchell Marner does struggle in the corners. He's the one guy on the line that wouldn't be as good as the others going in there. And at least he's got more space to operate. And Mitch Marner, when you give him time and space with the puck, he's very patient, and he'll make sure that McDavid and McKinnon are tucking goals all tournament.
Yeah, and then the other ones are a little bit interesting. I look at the Bleacher Report one, and they have O'Reilly, Scheifele, and Marner together. I just don't see that being as successful as a line. I just think that that's a more of defensively minded line, and then you're going to throw a guy like a guy like Marner there. Scheifele can score. O'Reilly not as much. Like, he's not as much of a goal scorer.
You know what's weird though? I do feel like if you told Marner, like, that's the main goal here, like, we don't care about the points, like, go out there and play with Scheifele and O'Reilly and just be checking. Like, I think Marner is kind of good at defense when that's all he's worried about. You see that sometimes on the last play of games. Like, he's really good at blocking shots, kind of like just as the time goes. I know it's happened a few different times that have been like big highlights for him, but even beyond that, Marner is like a smart player, and he's quick too.
Yeah.
So maybe you like programmed him to be that way and said, don't worry about the offensive zone. You're there to check and be puck possessive, all that. Maybe, but you're right. You are kind of like minimalizing his skills when you put him on a line like that, even though, I mean, so, like you said, an all-star lineup, everyone's going to be great.
Okay, here's the last thing that I'm going to kind of say about the Mitch Marner situation in terms of what could happen there, depending on what lines he goes with, if he does end up making this team. And I know that I've kind of gone back and forth and seen all the different sides of it. And once I've kind of go through this, I'll give my final projection of whether or not I think he's on the team. But the last point that I want to make to you, this is Leaf specific. How beneficial to the Toronto Maple Leafs do you think this would be if Mitch Marner went over there and was forced to play a more defensive role?
It would be really beneficial, but I think just this whole experience in general for him will be big time, because he needs a confidence boost. He's starting to come around the corner already. I think he'll be okay regardless of getting a selection. But if he does, it's just going to fast track his way back to being an ultra confident player on the ice, because I can already see it coming back to him. This tournament will make him that guy immediately again, in my opinion. That's a bold take, and I also know that putting him in a defensive role would reap an equal number of benefits, but there's no going wrong. If he makes this team, he's coming back to the Leafs, the best version of Mitch Marner.
Yeah, and I think like if he goes over there and he's forced to play a defensive role, mentally that's going to be a huge thing for him because he's going to learn how to do that, and he's going to learn how to do it at a high level amongst high quality players.
So are you starting to teeter back to, okay, maybe I would be okay seeing him play with a line like O'Reilly and Scheifele?
Yeah, so I don't think I was ever not okay with it. I just think that from a perspective of, are you going to make this team based on putting a guy in a position of having to play more defensively who isn't? If you're Team Canada trying to put this roster together, I might lean more towards a more defensive-minded player. And if you're okay, so let's say this. Okay, so Bleacher Report and Mike Johnson, they have. So let's go Bleacher Report first. Huberdeau, McDavid, McKinnon, Marchand, Crosby, Bergeron. So Marner doesn't slot into the top 6 there. If he doesn't slot into the top 6 and you're going to put him on, as I said, that O'Reilly, Scheifele, Marner line, you're basically forcing him into the defensively minded role, the checking line role, essentially, in that position.
More or less.
Yeah, and I think that if you're Team Canada looking at selecting this roster, maybe in that situation you'd want to put Stone up onto that line, and then the part of it where it comes into now you're playing chess and playing games in your own head is that fourth line of Bleacher Reports is Point, Couturier, Stone. So I would personally move Stone up because he is the defensive-minded player. I would like Stamkos on that fourth line with Point because of just the Tampa connection there. So then you start mixing in the connection kind of things. That's where my brain starts to go in that. And it's basically the same thing with Mike Johnson's list.
I gotta say, I'm not a big fan of Steven Stamkos making this team. And if we were to do it out of like the desire to have some fourth line chemistry, I just feel like that's not a motivating reason enough for me personally. I get what you're saying. I think it does make sense, but just to give Point a familiar line mate, I don't know if I could justify putting Stamkos on the team. Just like I know Stamkos is still a great player. They really value experience at the level with Team Canada. They've shown that before. The experience means a lot to them, but I just feel like there's too many other skilled players that might not get a chance to get on this roster who right now have a game that's ahead of Steven Stamkos. But you're not dying for talent on this roster. So maybe it is bigger to say that leadership and some chemistry will be the extra adding touches to get you a gold medal. You know, I'm not the GM of this team, but personally, my flinch reaction is to say that I don't want to see Stamkos on it. But you do make a good point about giving him some chemistry there with Point.
Okay, as we kind of conclude the Marner thing here, we'll go into a segment that we have, and then we'll use this segment to kind of predict how the rest of Team Canada can go with potential Leafs on the team and one non-Leaf as things get interesting here. But Goody, let's play a little Belief or Disbelief. Okay, so to conclude the whole Marner discussion here about Marner on Team Canada, I want to know, Mitch Marner, and I'm going to phrase these as a statement, Mitch Marner will be on Team Canada in 2022 Olympics.
Yes. I'm going to go with yes. I'm going with belief because, I mean, I got to side somewhere, right? Like there is a chance he won't make it, but I think we're putting like a 75 to 80% chance he does end up on the roster. And like for all the aforementioned reasons, it's the bigger ice. Mitch Marner is still that guy. He's coming around, getting his feet back underneath him. And I mean, there's no salary issues here, right? And that's the whole thing that makes Marner look bad. Like I know it's stating the obvious, but we look at Marner through the lens of $10.9 million. You strip that away, how much does he have to offer in a skilled lineup like Team Canada is going to have? It could be crazy. I got to go with belief.
Okay, I'm going to go with belief as well. And I kind of like your idea of the percentages. So what percentage are you going to officially throw on that for him being on Team Canada?
75, I'd say.
Okay, I'm going to go a lot lower, but I'm still going belief. I'm going 55%. And my reason is just going to be that I think he's going to make it, and I think in the eyes of Team Canada, they want him on that roster right now. But I think the reason his percentage is so low is because he's underperforming currently in terms of his point production, which he's expected to be a point producing kind of player. And I think that if he's underproducing in terms of points, then there's other guys they may look to give a shot to give them the best opportunity to win right now, let alone based on their reputation or what they could do for Team Canada in the future. And just names that would be out there would be guys who are listed as extras on this list. And you got to look at Tavares, who's having a pretty good year this year and is defensively minded. Stamkos, Barzal. Could they potentially throw in a guy like Hyman? Here's another name that could be real interesting for you. Anthony Rielly. I could see a situation where Rielly could get a chance, and part of it would be leads or second in the league now to Bunting in penalties drawn. He is a very valuable center who was up for Selke voting last year. He has won back-to-back Stanley Cups. He's won a World Junior Gold. He's won a Memorial Cup. He knows how to win. He plays for John Cooper in Tampa, John Cooper, the coach of Team Canada. That's a name that I think people are kind of forgetting about a little bit here as a guy who could potentially slide up for some positioning. And I just think if a guy like Marner is underproducing, they may look to other guys who can bring other types of value to the team other than point production, who could just kind of beat him out in that. I just still do believe he will make this team.
I think it's interesting what you're saying about Rielly. Just quick off the fly here. What's your percent on him making the team? Because I think it's a hot take, but
okay, I did 55 on Marner. I'll go 45 for Rielly, but I think he's slowly creeping up.
So you think there's like a real chance of this happening, eh?
Yeah, I actually do. I genuinely do. And I think that like there's certain locks on the team. I would definitely say Huberdeau, McDavid, McKinnon, Marchand, Crosby, Bergeron. There's 6 locks in my opinion. Couturier, I would say, is probably another lock. Mark Stone has been suffering with injuries this year, so that's kind of a bubble one to me. Braden Point, that's another lock. Okay, so I've got 8 locks, right? I got 8 in my head that are just guaranteed, no doubt about it, on this team. I think Stone could potentially have injuries, and then there's a bunch of bubble guys, and I just think that they could look at other guys and say, maybe you're the guy who just steps in here and can produce or can bring something else, can bring some jam to this team.
You're right. They care a lot about the extracurriculars of the game, I guess, like physicalness, leadership. Like they care a lot about that stuff. You've seen it before in their previous selections of players. But yeah, if Mark Stone's healthy, I think he's going to be a lock to be on this team for sure, just considering how much they care about two-way play. And he's a wicked player, man. I love Mark Stone. He's one of the guys that I don't see a lot of players that can play like Austin Matthews, but Mark Stone's one of the guys that I look at like he has game like that. I hope he makes the team. I hope he's healthy enough too.
Yeah, I think barring injury or barring like anything less than basically 90% health, I think Mark Stone's a lock. But I think it's just injury that's a question to me. That's
not
what
given.
Makes him a bubble.
You're right.
Okay, so let's go our next one here. John Tavares will be on Team Canada in 2022.
Disbelief. I can't go with that one. I don't see it happening. Johnny T, like I talk about bigger ice being an advantage to a guy like Marner. And it's not like, guys, don't get me wrong here. I don't want to overstate the bigger ice. Like, you're out there playing hockey. It's the same game. Johnny T's been on Olympic rosters before. He's a gold medalist. Like, I get all of that. Great leader too, but I think there's so many players who they're going to want to play a certain way. And I feel like Johnny T, he's pretty consistent with how he goes out there and does things, and it works with the Leafs in the NHL, and it's worked before, but I just don't think he has the same versatility at this point in his career to go into different situations and be ultra great defensively. I know he's good defensively, but he doesn't have a ton of speed. I don't know. Yeah. And his points are still somewhat there. Obviously, they're better than a lot of people think right now, but he doesn't strike me as one of those guys that I'm looking at as a shoe-in to make this team. I have a gut feeling like this guy is on the bubble like Barzal. I think I would way rather have a player like Matthew Barzal on my roster right now, especially on big Olympic ice, than a John Tavares. And I get like the leadership side of things, the experience. That's valid, but I mean, like I said, I'm not the GM of this team. My pick would be a guy like Barzal or even like a Scheifele. Johnny T to me, I don't think will make it. I'm in disbelief here, Philly. What about you?
Do you got a percentage on any chance of him making it at all, or?
I'm gonna give it 35.
Okay, okay.
Yeah.
I'm gonna follow it up. I'm gonna go disbelief as well. I'm not gonna go quite as harsh on it, because here's the thing is, and I don't think that your feeling on it was unjust. I think that it makes a lot of sense. I see exactly where you're coming from with it. I just think that there's other swappable players in the lineup. Okay, so I think like Ryan O'Reilly could be a guy that comes out and John Tavares can go in over. I think as you had said where you talked about Stamkos and you weren't sure if Stamkos was a guy that would go in there, Stamkos could be a guy that Tavares just makes it instead of Stamkos. Because one of those guys, one of those three guys is likely going to end up on the out, and probably two of the three will end up in. Now, the situation could arise where they throw a Rielly in there, and now two of the three end up out, and one of the three is in, which would just be an interesting scenario, and I'm kind of just speculating based on my own feeling on it, but that could be a case. I just think at least minimum one of those three will be in there. I don't know. They may just decide based on play during the season, and Tavares has had a pretty good year, and point-wise, I don't know if O'Reilly has. So, I don't know.
I do sleep on Johnny T a little bit. I mean, Ryan O'Reilly, you see what that guy does in a long playoff run. Extremely recent Stanley Cup champion. It's a body of work evaluation, which I do think falls into the favor of Johnny T a little bit too, because I mean, he's accomplished a lot, even though there's no Stanley Cup. I don't know. I think especially getting a little bit hurt there in the playoffs last year, maybe that's a reach to bring up. I just don't trust the point that Johnny T is in his career to be the best he can be at this tournament. But he brings a lot of other things. But what's your percentage on him making it?
Okay. Based on the fact that he is a guy who's played Team Canada, he's won Olympic golds, I believe. I'm pretty sure he was there in 2014. I thought Tavares was. He's played with the World Hockey Championships. Yeah. He's won the gold with the World Juniors. 49%.
Wow. Yeah, you know what? You're not wrong. Like, it is a really good chance.
I think he's just on the cusp. I'm having trouble
justifying it too. Like, I am having trouble justifying it as I'm reasoning out loud why you wouldn't. I look at some of the guys that might get not included, and I do think they're better players than him right now. But this team doesn't. It's not like talent starved. Like, go with some good character guys. I get it. It's going to be close.
Okay, and the final current Leaf, Morgan Rielly will be on Team Canada in 2022. Belief or disbelief?
This one's going to be really close. I'm going to give the homer answer and say belief. I think that Morgan Rielly, he's been playing great recently. Again, they're not going to oversample a short period of time, but Morgan Rielly's starting to look sharp. I'm going to go back to this old thing I've been saying the entire time. Big ice, Morgan Rielly will be flying. He's great at holding the puck, breaking it through the neutral zone. I mean, he's just an ultra-mobile defenseman. Even if he's not, in one of the top pairings, which he won't be, he'll be a useful depth guy. I tend to like him there. I think he's pretty solid, but I'm looking at a lot of different guys right now. I think he could make it over, like Chychrun. I think he could make it over. Thomas Chabot, I think, is going to be a stud right now, but even Morgan Rielly's like, Morgan Rielly, I think, is better than Alex Pietrangelo right now, but Pietrangelo is one of those guys that's probably going to make the team just, based off of, I mean, they've already said he's going to be on the team.
Yeah.
And that just speaks to his leadership and experience. I don't know. I look at the defense. I think Morgan Rielly does have the skill to play in the lineup, but.
You got a percentage for me on this one?
I'll go with 55. I think it's just over like a 0.5% that he's on it, but I kind of feel like a homer saying this one. Like, a lot of the projections don't seem to have Morgan Rielly in it.
Okay, so I'm going to go with belief as well. And I'm going to give you my percentage right away so we can break this down. Because I think it's kind of funny because when you and I do the post-game grades, we're usually like right in the same ballpark. We're real close. And today with the percentages for the most part, well, I think the Marner one we were pretty close on. I'm gonna go 80% Morgan Rielly makes this team.
Wow.
I think that Team Canada is interested in this type of guy to be on the team.
Yeah.
As you look through that rest of that lineup, and they're gonna have Pietrangelo, Shea Theodore, Dougie Hamilton. I don't know. Give me some other names who you think could be there. I think Drew Doughty will deserve a chance. I
Cale
personally
Makar.
do. Oh, Cale Makar, yeah. I think he's going to be on this lineup.
Lock.
But
Yeah.
I just think that Rielly's having himself a really good year. He's getting back into the point production. He's getting back into scoring goals. He's playing with a guy like TJ Brody who can calm things down defensively. And Team Canada may be looking at that going, hey, we could slot you with someone potentially just as good, if not better than TJ Brody to be your D partner. And this could be incredible for you to play with Team Canada. It may not translate going back to the Leafs. I'm not sure how that'll work out, but I think they could be looking at it like, we got a guy here who is very mobile, and as you said, stealing it right from you, is the ice is bigger. He's going to have a lot more room to skate, which he has good legs. He's got good speed. He's good with that. And you're going to be playing with really skilled players who can kind of negate some of your defensive woes. And I know that's a weird thing to say when you're looking at defensemen, especially for Team Canada, especially considering we just went off of talking about Marner and his lack of defensive ability. But if Morgan Rielly is out there with any four of these lines that they put on the ice, the forwards are going to completely negate anything that he has wrong defensively with his game. And I think John Cooper is such a smart coach. He's going to be able to just put Rielly in situations to succeed. I think they're going to want him there. I think they're going to like this from him, and I think they're going to want and be looking for left-handed defensemen. So I think Morgan Rielly's chances of making this team are very high.
No, I'm with you. I think he'll make it. I mean, 55% is what I'm saying, because I think there's a decent chance he gets left off. But Morgan Rielly's seasoned at this point too. He's a veteran player. I think that he's got a lot of experience, things to bring to the table at this point too. So I think that there's a good chance that he'll make it.
All right. Last one, this guy is not a Leaf. He's someone that we haven't really touched on much here. Former Toronto Maple Leaf, Zack Hyman will be on Team Canada in 2022.
Belief. I'm going with belief. And I don't know how to justify it, Phil. I got a gut feeling. They used to do this for Crosby and Kunitz. I think they're going to start doing this for McDavid and Hyman. And why not? I mean, there is some reasons why not, but Hyman is so blue collar with his approach to the game that, coaches love this guy, and no more salary cap relevance. Yep. So this is just exactly what you're going to get out of Hyman. I mean, you talk about the two-way players being loved by this Canada team. I think that since McDavid's so comfortable with them, you might see it happen. I have a feeling this is something that Team Canada does. Would I do it? No, but do I think Team Canada is going to? I got a weird feeling they will. What's your? I'll give a percentage on it too.
Okay.
I'm gonna give it 60% chance that he ends up on the roster. I got a feeling right now it's gonna happen.
Oh man. Okay. Dude, I don't know. I'm really putting some hard thought into this, actually.
I feel like this is
the more we talked, the more I've started to change my perspective, and then you just giving that pitch right there has kind of just like swung me a little bit. I'm going belief.
Oh, lock it in.
Mine's real low. I gave Johnny T a 49. I'm giving Hyman a 51. It's sweet. Very scumbag, but I think that he's got the good chance. And I honestly was probably teetering on the 49, just like JT, but you said one thing in particular that just pushed it over the limit of that 50% mark. They brought Kunitz for Sidney Crosby. When you said that, I was like, yeah, that's Hyman goes to Edmonton. He's having a great season. McDavid is going to have a great season regardless of if Hyman's there or not, but still having that great season. And it's just in my head, you started talking about that gut feel, Kunitz and Crosby, and I was just saying, yep, he's going to be there. Hyman is going to be there. It's a
hunch pick, man. It's a hunch pick. The numbers wouldn't tell you, but we've seen this kind of thing happen before, and I mean, I as a fan of Team Canada, like I wouldn't hate it either. I could live with it, be a little confusing, but I mean, you would see their first game play out, and probably Zach Hyman would have a couple points or not a couple points, but maybe a point or something. A couple points is ambitious, but I just feel like this guy always aces his assignments. Like I have no doubt he would do the same with the Olympics.
Well, there you go. There's our predictions of which Maple Leafs will make Team Canada come 2022. If Mitch Marner is a lock for that, Goody and I gave our percentages. We did a little belief, disbelief as to whether or not guys would be making this team. I do want to remind everyone right now, if you're not already subscribed to this channel, make sure you subscribe right now. We're on the road to 2,000 subscribers, so we appreciate every single subscriber along the way. Make sure you hit that subscribe button after you like and comment on this video. In this video particularly, we didn't give projections of Team Canada lineup. We'll do that in a couple weeks, I think. We'll let this play out a little bit more, see how things are, and before the official announcement from Team Canada, Goody and I will give our own projections. We will give our own in-depth lineup projections from who's going to play with who's going to be the extras, who's going to be left out. We'll go into the defensemen, the goalies, everything. We'll give our full Team Canada projections, but you wait a couple weeks for that. So make sure you subscribe so you get notified when that video comes out. But this one's strictly based on the Leafs. So in the comments of this video, make sure you let us know, is Mitch Marner going to make Team Canada? John Tavares, Morgan Rielly, Zack Hyman, obviously Hyman not current Leaf, but former Leaf. Are these guys going to be making Team Canada in 2022? Which guys of the ones that I just listed would you leave off? Which ones would be making it? Let us know in the comments below. And the final thing I have to remind everyone, if you want to join the Leafs Digest, the Raptors Digest, the Digest Media community, make sure you go to our Discord. You can join that community there. Let us know what your bets are for the upcoming games because Goody and I are in an absolute freezer. So you can DM us on Instagram, DM the Leafs Digest account, message us on Twitter, join into the Discord or the Discord community. Let us know what your thoughts are on the upcoming game. Leafs fans, this has been fun. We enjoyed breaking this down, talking about which guys could be making Team Canada. Looked forward to hearing from you guys in the comments on which opinions of ours were absolutely foolish, which ones you think have no chance of making this roster. But Leafs fans, we'll talk to you guys soon. Keep believing.
Signing off.